just tell us when we're.
Okay, this meeting of the California Underground Safety Board is now called to order at 1 minute after 1 on July 14, 2025. Secretary, please call the roll.
Austin,
Present.
Johns,
Present.
Johnson,
Here.
Munoz. Present. Simonian.
Here.
Thorne. Thorne absent.
Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you all for coming today. I would like to begin by acknowledging that we gathered today on ancestral homelands of the Nisi Nan people. Sacramento was a gathering place for many local tribes who have lived throughout the Central Valley and the foothills for generations, and were the original stewards of this land. We'd like to acknowledge the Southern Maidu people to the north, and the valley and the plains, the Miwok people to the south of the American River, and the Win-Win-Tune peoples to the west of the Sacramento River. Please join me in expressing our deepest respect and gratitude for our indigenous neighbors and for their enduring care and protection of our shared lands and waterways. And today we are meeting California Department of Education. In the event of an evacuation, proceed out the doors at the back of the room. There's an exit door to the right where you can walk straight ahead through the lobby to exit the building. Our evacuation point will be the Capitol Park to the north of the venue today. We'll return to our room and resume the meeting when the emergency is all clear. Okay, and we'd like to introduce everybody to our newest board member, John Simonian. Member Simonian of West Covina was appointed to the Underground Safe Excavation Board on April 30th, 2025 by the Senate Rules Committee. He has been an operational director for UtiliQuest since 2020. He was an operational manager from 2017 to 2020, damage supervisor from 2016 to 2017, damage investigator from 2014 to 2016, and field utility locator in 2013. All for UtiliQuest, and welcome, Rick County.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to contribute to the team.
Okay, so this meeting will proceed in the same manner as previous meetings, which will include public participation in person and remotely. We ask that everybody to please be aware of crosstalk by seating the floor as necessary for one another and each taking turns to comment. For those of you attending, we will now review public participation and the public comment procedures. For those of you attending in person who wish to provide public comment, you will be prompted to approach the podium in the middle of the room. Please provide your name and organization before your comment. For those of us joining remotely, you can enter the queue to speak by using the raised hand button if you are on the webinar or dialing *5. If you've dialed in, when your name is called, unmute yourself using the microphone button. If you are on the webinar or by dialing *6 if you have dialed in. Please provide your name and organization before you comment. So we will now proceed into public comments on topics within the board's jurisdiction that are not on the agenda today. If you would like to make a comment, please approach the podium. Please provide your name and organization before you comment. And once again, for those on the webinar, use the raise hand button if you are on the webinar or dial *5 if you've dialed in. When your name is called, unmute yourself using the microphone button if you're on the webinar or by dialing *6 if you've dialed in. Please provide your name and organization before you comment. So we will start with in-person comments.
Hi, I'm Mike Donlin of MD Safety Services. I'm a consultant for United Contractors, which has a membership of some 600 underground contractors, general engineering contractors, and another 400, I think it is, associate members. I'm really here because UConn is gonna get more involved with your board, and that's, I think, a good thing. I know a couple of the members are work for UConn companies. And so you'll be seeing my face, and I do make a lot of public comment. I just wanted to get my face out there for you so we all get to know each other. One thing that did come up this morning, because I didn't hear about this till just this morning, is AB 825 was heard in the Business Professions and Economic Development Committee of the legislature. And it's going to give the board some challenging new things it's going to have to do. I'm sure you've been reviewing that. But the one thing I'm kind of concerned about is proposed section 4216.1B2, which sounds like is going to make it, there will be cases where contractors will have to pull a ticket more than 48 hours prior to digging. When there's a lot of burden on the operator, and it only applies to electrical, underground electrical, but when the operator is overwhelmed, and it's going to be a challenging regulation to write. And I just want to say, we got to make this clear or it's just not going to work. We got to make it simple for the excavators or it's just not going to work. Thank you.
Mike?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Todd Blumstein, representing the Southern California Contractors Association. With regards to AB 825, I thought it'd be worth to mention that we've been working with the author on some language that could be adopted. There's essentially three parts to that particular bill. One part would give tribes access to information prior to excavation on their properties. There's two other portions dealing with development of regulations by the board. The first one has to deal with high volumes of tickets. As you'll recall, this board has talked and looked at certain utility companies doing high volume pole insertions that have overwhelmed the locate and mark services. So there's a provision to require the board to do that as well, to develop a regulation to develop that ticket. And then as the previous speaker, I believe, mentioned and was referencing, there's also a portion that requires the development of a design ticket. And we've been working kind of internally with CARGA, as well as SCCA and Dig Alert, as well as USA North, to develop a ticket that would fall outside of the normal scope of excavators requesting a ticket. It would be designed for designers and engineers, completely separate of the 811 system. So after the comments I heard just a moment ago, I thought it'd be helpful to have some clarification. So we'll be working on it. The bill did pass Senate P&P today after quite a bit of opposition. It'll be heard tomorrow in the Senate Utilities Committee. And we do have a commitment from the author to work on language next month while the legislature's in recess. So I hope that's helpful for the board to understand. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Okay, so seeing no further in-person comments, we will go to the webinar comments. Those, are there any webinar comments?
There are no webinar comments at this time.
Okay. So seeing no further comments, we will proceed. Next item before us is an action item to approve the minutes from the April 14 to 15, 2025 meeting. We will start with in-person comments. If you'd like to make a comment, please approach the podium, provide your name and organization before you comment. And then for those on the webinar, use the raise hand button if you on the webinar or dial *5. And seeing no comments, we'll move to the webinar. Oh, we will proceed. And thank you for comments. The draft of the minutes of the April 14th, 15th meeting was distributed to you in your meeting packet for review. Does any board member have a correction to the minutes to be as distributed? If you have a correction to the minutes, please state the correction. Okay, seeing no corrections to the minutes, are there any objections to approving the minutes as distributed? Chair, I move that we approve the minutes as presented. Motion made by Member Johnson. We have a second?
A second.
You? Awesome. So please vote by stating yes or no or abstain when your name is called. Secretary, please call roll.
Lawson,
Aye. Approved.
Johns,
Aye.
Johnson,
Yes.
Munoz,
Yes.
Simonian,
Yes.
Munoz, Storm, absent.
Okay. Okay, the minutes for the April 14, 15, 2025 meetings are approved as corrected. And we have voted up to, forget that one's passed. We'll go on to item 4, the election of a vice chairperson. The next item before us is an action item for the election of a vice chairperson pursuant to Government Code Section 4216.14E and Policy G02. We will first take public comment. Following that, we will nominate and select a vice chairperson. If you'd like to make a comment, please approach the podium and provide your name and organization. Okay. Seeing none, if you on the webinar would like to raise your hand button or dial pound 5 up to dial in. Seeing no in-person comments, or we will proceed. The procedure for electing a vice chair will be as follows. Board members will have the opportunity to nominate another board member or themselves to the office. If nominated, a board member may decline the nomination. Once all nominations have been received, members may discuss them. Upon conclusion of a discussion, a motion needs to be made, and we will hold a roll call vote. And are there any nominations from the board for vice chairperson?
I'll nominate myself for the vice chairperson.
Thank you. All right, Member Clausen has been nominated as vice chairperson. Any other nominations? So, being that, so secretary, we'll vote on.
Holy.
Oh,
I'll go ahead and make a motion that, we nominate Member Clausen for vice chair position.
motion's been made. You have a second? I'll second that also. Okay, secretary, please take roll.
Lawson,
Yes.
Johns,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Munoz,
Yes.
Simonian,
Yes.
So I now recognize Member Clausen as a vice chairperson of the board. Congratulations. Thank you. Okay, the next item before the board is an action item on board committee membership. Staff will present a report on board committee membership, and the board will assign a member to a committee with vacancies. Ms. Hastings, you may proceed.
Good afternoon, Chair, members of the board, and stakeholders. Please introduce agenda item number 5, an action item regarding assigning a member to the ticket process committee. Board committee membership items are generally brought before the board when committee vacancies occur or when staff proposes or the board requests for reorganization of the committees. At the last board meeting, the board approved assignments to all of its committees. The current committee assignments are as follows. Unmarked and abandoned mines, Bill Johns and Amparo Munoz. Geographic Information System, Amparo Munoz and David Sorum. Legislative, Amparo Munoz and Bill Johns. Education and Outreach, Marshall Johnson and Travis Clausen. Ticket Process, Marshall Johnson and 1 vacancy. platform and planning design, David Storm and Travis Lawson. Although the board approved new assignments in April, there is now a vacancy on the ticket process committee due to member Charlotte no longer being on the board. Additionally, with member Simone joining the board in April 2025, assigning him to a committee will provide him an opportunity to participate. As a reminder, to maintain compliance with the Bagley Open Meeting Act, each committee must be limited to a maximum of 2 board members. Staff recommends the board assign member Simonian to the ticket process committee. With that, I'll turn it back over to the chair.
Thank you, Ms. Hasty. We will proceed with in-person comments. If you'd like to make a comment, please approach the podium. Please provide your name and organization before you comment.
Good afternoon, James Wingate, USA North 811. I have tremendous respect for Member Simonian as we've worked, talked a lot in the field or related to specific ticket issues. However, I'm concerned about having both members of this committee being utility operators or representing utility operators. I think one of them should be an excavator, in my opinion. So my recommendation would be that the committees be shaken up a little bit if necessary, but I think the ticket processing committee deserves perspective of an excavator as one of those two. Thank you.
Mr. Wingate? The webinar. So seeing no further in-person comments, we'll move to the webinar, which we check. Seeing none, we will proceed. Thank you for your comment. As mentioned, we are looking to fill vacancy on the ticket process committee. We have a new member of that committee. So, member want to begin the discussion.
I can see Mr. Wingate's point, even though I'm a former representative of the operator. I think that that's a good idea to have one. But in terms of the actual ticket itself, the approval by the run court call center, Ramirez made up of operators anyway. So if the committee is a mixture of anyone participating, that should be able to suffice, unless there's one representing the excavators side, they want to move into that position. And I don't mind stepping aside if that's the case.
Member Munoz. I think that it's important to recall that all of us were appointed to our positions for our expertise in the entire gambit of the process. We do have specific expertise in certain areas based on the roles that we have played in the industry. But to state that any one of us couldn't take this job when we're actually also ruling on hearings is unfair as well. So I feel confident in everyone that we can all do the job. And the other thing is, staff does an excellent job of putting together and facilitating workshops and meetings where there's all kinds of voices that can be heard and any concerns can be elevated. We've had the idea registry, we've had workshops, and there are other positions on this board that can be filled if we want more staff or more representation. So we do have other positions. So I would say that every time we interact with the public, we should be trying to get all of our positions filled so that we can have more representation here. If that's the direction we should all be looking forward to. But I also feel that I feel confident in every single one of them. So, and we are doing the people's work. So I feel confident that we will continue on that topic.
Remember John's, I can't really think of a scenario where it would be a real problem. Can anybody?
I think for myself, I think I look at the whole process, the whole versus looking at an operator or an excavator. And what the bottom line is what's best for the industry. It's safety, being safety first.
Okay, well, I guess I will entertain a motion to assign, a member to the ticket process, be assigning.
Member Chair, I just want to make a suggestion.
Okay,
We are short a couple feet. And so maybe we can postpone that decision, keep it as it is for now. And then, when we get new board seats or board members, we can relook at that at that time.
and with staff, I mean, is that acceptable? We need somebody on right now, or can we review this?
Member Munoz, there's no guarantee that we're gonna get any members in the pipeline anytime soon. So I think just having, our board, our committee feel important to get the work done. And remember, like, as we work in these committees, we're working on facilitating the discussion, bringing people to the table to discuss it, taking those ideas and processing it and synthesizing them with our experience. So I don't see why postponing it would be more advantageous than, getting started with our newest member on the committee. That would actually help get them running faster. But I can see the point, but I just think that for our own longevity, to keep our own board members engaged in the process, I think we need to move, member Simeon to a committee. We've got a lot of work to do, guys. Just get them in. So I'll make a motion that, member Simeon is appointed to the, ticket processing committee.
Second that.
Does it require a vote? Or
Yeah, we are going to be voting, yeah. So it's been motion by member Munoz and member Clausen has seconded. So we will go to the vote.
Clausen,
yes,
Johns,
Yes.
Johnson,
yes.
Munoz,
Yes.
Simonian,
Yes.
Okay, motion is adopted. Okay, so we will proceed to
Part
our
of clarification, Chair. So the vote was for the purpose of confirming members and
member Simeon is now on the ticketing committee with our member Johnson.
right. You have the opportunity to say no as well, right?
I accept.
I wouldn't need to give him that up.
So you're giving that.
Okay, so we will proceed to public comment on enforcement items. This is the time to comment on any of the enforcement items. Each speaker needs to identify which enforcement item they are speaking on, and each comment period should not exceed 3 minutes. So we'll start with in-person comments. If you'd like to make a comment, please approach the podium.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Again, Todd Bloomstein for the Southern California Contractors Association. Just an administrative point. It was really hard to find the NOPVs on the website. Only until just now was I able to find them. So I don't know if it could be somehow shared or found easier on the website. It'd be extraordinarily helpful to do that, especially considering the volume of them. SCCA likes to review them. We've even held private case studies on individual NOPV so we can learn and share with the industry. So if there's a way to make it easier to access, it'd be certainly helpful for the public. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. So Staff will make note of that. No other in-person comments, anything on the webinar? No comment. Thank you for your comment, Mr. Wilson. Recusals. Does any member need to recuse themselves from all consideration, from consideration of all the enforcement items? Okay. Okay, the next item before us is an action item on the decision of the NOPV, the Artistry Development EBA Artistry Pools. Investigation number N2424954. Jurisdiction is the California State License Board. And Artistry Pools has responded to the NOPV and requested an informal hearing. So I will provide an overview of the case. So on July 26, 2024, Artistry Development, DBA Artistry Pools, damaged a half-inch plastic gas service line with a shovel while digging a trench to install irrigation water lines. Artistry Pools did not contact the regional notification center before digging. After damaging the line, Artistry Pools did not call 911 emergency service to report it. No one was injured and no equipment other than a half-inch plastic gas service line was damaged. Violations include Government Code Section 4216.2B, excavating without first notifying the regional notification center of intent to excavate, and Government Code Section 4216.4C1, excavator failed to call 911 emergency services upon discovering or causing damage to subsurface installation resulting in the escape of flammable, toxic, or corrosive gas or liquid. The respondent's written response concedes the violations occurred. The respondent has requested an opportunity to address the board. So who is prepared to make a statement on behalf of Artistry Pools? So you may come to the podium. And you have 15 minutes.
Oh, don't need that long. My name is Cody Moore. I'm the owner of Artistry Development. I'm a small contractor in Los Angeles. I do landscaping, swimming pools, outdoor hardscapes, and so forth. On the day that I came here just to take responsibility for the matter. I've never had an issue like this happen before. I immediately called the gas company upon hitting the gas line. They said they'd have somebody come out right away. They asked me if I called 911. I said, no, we have no injuries. You know, we mitigated the gas leak with what we could do. So at that moment, I didn't think there was an issue. I've now learned the law and the code regarding 911 is a mandatory, call that needs to be made. So at the end of the day, I saw the recommendations as do a class or education, and then it was a fine and penalty. I just wanted to show, coming here shows that I'm trying to take responsibility. I'm not a massive company. I'm a one-man show with some guys. I don't know what the penalty fine would be, but I can't really swallow that at the moment. So I'm hoping that coming up here, showing that I'm trying to take responsibility for the matter. I did take responsibility for the matter as well with the neighborhood. I made sure everything was safe. There was no incident with regards to affecting any neighbors or the home that I was with. So that's pretty much all I'm here. I'm not coming here just to help or ask and request that the findings from this incident don't require a large, heavy fine, is what I'm asking. On a side note, I have done 811 requests several times since this, and to give feedback on that as a small contractor, I'll call in an 811 request and I'll have people start coming out and they give me the clearance to dig a swimming pool or whatnot. That's mainly what I call for. I'll then proceed to get emails or text messages after the dig has been done for 3 to 4 weeks longer. just to get feedback as a contractor. It starts to, you're like, I'm not calling 811 next time. This is crazy. I don't know what's going on. So I'm just giving feedback as a small business owner, which I still do call 811 because I'm now established, but I'm just letting the feedback be known that maybe there's a way of fine tuning it. I'm not a large excavator. I'm not a big company that's coming in and doing that. It's a very small incident. I do it in one day. I excavate and I'm done. So just feedback from me as a contractor, I guess. Yeah, that's all.
Thank you, Mr. Moore. I appreciate your respect of our group to come make that statement.
Thank you.
So Ms. Brannaman, would staff like to discuss or respond to anything?
No, not at this time.
So we will now turn to members of the board. We will deliberate each violation separately and decide whether the violation occurred before moving to the next. If we determine that the respondent committed at least one violation, we will then determine what sanctions is appropriate. Violation number 1, Government Code 4216.2B, excavating without first notifying the Regional Notification Center of intent to excavate. Members who would like to begin discussion.
Mr. Chair. I found that based on admission and right now that he realized that he failed to initiate an 811 ticket. He said it in his response as well. And then he said there was a misunderstanding or misunderstanding of 811 and being uneducated by not calling it 811. So based on those facts alone, I would think that based on 4216.2B that he would be issuing that.
Member Munoz, I concur that there was 2 violations that occurred, both 4216.2B and 4216C1. And I would just like to remind the position is always the same. You have a contractor's license, as I see in the investigation, who are made aware of the laws, whether or not you execute them is another thing, but it is made aware in the process that anytime you break the plane of the earth, whether it's big job or little job, the law applies to you.
Someone want to make a motion on that?
So with that, I'll move that, that we find Artistry Development, ABA Artistry Pools violated government code by excavating without first notifying the Regional Notification Center of intent to excavate. And that would be 4216 to be, excavating without a ticket.
I'll second that.
Yeah, thank you. Made by Member Simeon. So Secretary, please call out roll.
Lawson,
Yes.
Johns,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Munoz,
Yes.
Simonian,
Yes.
Okay, motion is adopted. So violation number 2, discussion. Government Code 4216.4C1, failure to contact 911 emergency services after causing damage to a gas facility.
Make the motion. Move that we find Artistry Development, EDA Artistry Power Poles violated the government code by failing to contact 911 emergency service after causing damage to a gas facility in violation of 4216.4C1.
I'll go ahead and second that.
Okay, Member Munoz, second.
Lawson,
Yes.
Johns,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Munoz,
Yes.
Simonian,
Yes.
You, ma'am, catching up here. So the motion is adopted. Okay, so we move on to the next item is discussing sanctions. If a violation is found, which we've found two. Staff proposes sanctions of mandatory completion of the board's education course, a financial penalty to the amount to be determined by the board, and a corrective action to be determined by the board. For those of you who find that a violation did occur, please state what you think is an appropriate sanction. In doing so, please list the provisions of section 4201 of Title 19 of the California Code of Regulations that you are using the basis of your determination and facts you relied on. Members who would like to continue deliberation.
Member Munoz, I do appreciate that, came in person to take responsibility for putting the people of California at risk, even though it's, you know, it's a small job, it can be a very large incident that could have occurred. So based on the board's decision to find that there was a violation of both 4216-2B and 4216-4C1, I move that we recommend that the state contractors licensing board order that the Artistry Development ABA Artistry Pools take the board's education course and pay a financial penalty of $1,000.
Wasn't a motion.
That was,
No, that's just, we're in deliberation here.
that was motion.
Oh, that was a motion?
Jumped right in.
Oh, well, does anybody want to discuss that before we move on to Stephanie?
I would, I think based on coming present and explaining detailed information about what he said and rebuttal that he was uneducated by it. I think he learned a lesson. His company learned a lesson. And I feel that's what education is about. Is learning from the mistakes you make. I think in this case, I think based on his feedback, documented as well as what he just said, I think the advice is for not having the ability, financial ability. I think that the class, taking the education course will enhance his company further to make sure that it won't happen again. So that's what.
I agree with Member Johnson. I think we have a new fan. And he'll be telling all of his cohorts out there the importance of it. So the education piece really worked here. He did spend time and money coming up here to address the board. I definitely appreciate that. So I'm with Member Johnson on taking the education, but the drop.
So does somebody want to amend my?
So, yeah, I was gonna say, we have a motion, we'll cancel your motion and, then we can readdress that one, so.
Yeah, I make a motion that based on our findings, we move that, we recommend the contractor state license board order Artistry Development, DBA Artistry Pool to take the board's education course. No fine this time.
I'll second that.
And still in kind of deliberation, Member Munoz, kind of an impasse here,
I think the concern for me is always, but the process is difficult, but the process took an extended amount of time, but it doesn't make me want to call again. That's very concerning, even in the speech they gave now. So I want to make sure that there's no misunderstanding. You must do this process. There are people's lives at stake. We have been in situations where there have been fires, where it was right next to a school. So I want to make it very clear that this is an expectation, not to us, but to the neighborhoods, to where these people, are working and where people are living. So I'm okay with that as long as it's very, very clear that just, coming and saying it was a misunderstanding. I didn't know. It doesn't work when you go speaking down the street. It doesn't work in any other situation, so I want to make sure that we understand the brevity of what is at stake here when we don't do the job right. I'm okay with the board.
So in that case, so,
I'll second.
okay, member Simeon seconds. So, okay, entertain, the secretary, please call the roll on these sanctions. These sanctions will, apply to all of the violations, correct, taking counsel, that's okay then, all right? So please proceed.
Clausen,
Yes.
Johns,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Munoz,
Yes.
Simonian,
Yes.
Okay, motion adopted. Okay, we're moving on to, item 8, decision on NOPV for drainage plumbing, investigation number 247255. Next item before us is an action item on the decision of the NOPV, the drainage plumbing investigation. Drainage plumbing has not responded to the NOPV, the jurisdiction of the California State License Board. We will now turn to members of the board, deliberate these violations separately, decide whether the violations occurred before moving to the next. If we determine that the respondent committee committed at least one violation, we will determine what sanctions are appropriate. Violation 1, Government Code 4216.2B, excavating without first notifying the regional notification center of intent to excavate. Members who would like to begin deliberation.
Chairman, based on the investigation, response back from the estimator, he admitted that he did call, he or she, there was no ticket found by the regional notification center. So based on his own admission, and no information, no evidence from the one call center, there was a violation of 4216.2.
Further discussion or a motion?
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion.
Okay.
I move that we find drainage plumbing violated the government code by excavating without first notifying the regional notification center of intent to excavate 4216.2.
Member Munoz, I'll second that.
Second by member Munoz. Secretary, please on that, please call roll.
Clausen,
Yes.
Johns,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Munoz,
Yes.
Simonian,
Yes.
Okay, motion is adopted. Violation number 2. Government Code 4216.4C1, excavator failure to contact 911 emergency services upon discovering or causing damage to subsurface installation resulting in the escape of flammables, toxic or corrosive gas or liquid. Members?
Mr. Chairman. In this case, again, it's stated that there was no call made to call 911. And based on the investigation, there was no evidence saying, there was evidence saying that he didn't call based on the documentation. So I feel that there was a violation of 4216.4C1.
Second,
Member Simonian, I'll second.
Secretary, please call roll.
Clausen,
Yes.
Johns,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Munoz,
Yes.
Simonian,
Yes.
Okay. So, staff proposes sanctions of mandatory completion of the board's education course, a financial penalty of the amount to be determined by the board, a corrective action to be determined by the board. For those of you who find that a violation did occur, please state what you think of an appropriate sanction. In doing so, please list the provisions of section 4201 of Title 19 of the California Code of Regulations that you're using as a basis for your determination of the facts you relied on.
Member Munoz, I think that the education is, extremely important, but I also think that a financial penalty to make sure that we remember that this is required at all times. So I would put forth the $1,000 that I said previously for the situation as well. So I would say the education was $1,000 financial penalty.
And that is for both violations.
Yes, for both violations.
Concur, Mr. Chairman, based on, the interview and investigation, never responded back via document. They had to constantly contact or try to make the attempt to contact, or the only way they got them is when they got them on the phone call. So I agree with member Munoz.
So I'll go ahead and, make a motion that based on our findings, I'll move that we recommend to the contractor state licensing board ordered Drain A Plumbing to take the board's education course and pay a financial penalty in the amount of $1,000.
And I'm going to add to kind of agree with you there, but I do find that this is using a hand shovel and the conditions that occurred doesn't warrant it anymore. But it is, again, based on the equipment used and things like that, that I think this is the appropriate amount. So, but I have a motion and second.
Member Clausen seconds.
Okay. Second, member Clausen, secretary, please take roll.
Clausen,
Yes.
Johns,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Munoz.
Yes.
Sora, I'm sorry, Simeon.
Yes.
A motion is adopted. So item 9, this is, next item before us is an action item on the decision of the NOPV to Desert-Scape Management Investigation 23 NTS 0015. Desert-Scape Management has not responded to the NOPV, and their jurisdiction is the California State License Board. Now turn to members of the board. We will deliberate each violation, separately. And if it's determined with one violation, we will determine what sanction is appropriate. The violation 1, Government Code 4216.2B, excavating without first notifying Regional Notification Center of intent to excavate. Please state whether you agree with the violation that occurred, and in doing so, please list the facts you relied on to make your determination. So members, deliberation.
Can you give us a second?
Okay, now
Member Munoz, I'll just start off by saying that a lot of these have to do with being residential homes where, maybe a smaller place. And I think this is starting to be a trend. And this one is another one, Desert-Scape, where they're trying to change an irrigation belt. I think it's important that everyone realize that breaking a plane of earth requires a ticket. So I think that's in here throughout. So I think from the investigation, it's very clear that they did not get a ticket and they did not call 911, but they did cause damage to the gas company's line.
And that is a good point that looking around inside private properties is still just as dangerous and to be considered. So, I think the all can appreciate we have lots of documents here, so give us a moment.
And just as a refresher, in the investigation, I think the owner Saul, I think it's the name. He said that it was unusual to call 811 when just digging around the box with shovels or replacing belts, and that's concerning. So, we are here as board, we are addressing the public. It should not be unusual that when you break the plane of the earth and you are digging next to what could be a very dangerous situation, you call 811 first. I do want to highlight some of the things as we go through this, some of the comments that, could probably keep us up all night, because if our neighbor's doing this and, our other neighbor smoking out there and there's a leak, this could go really badly. So I think it's important from these investigations that we take some of the messages to the public, since we're here in a public space, to say that even at someone's house, it is required.
And in the investigation itself, I mean, there's a pretty good pile of dirt next to where the incident occurred. So, it's significant digging. It's not just a casual, casual activity. If with a shovel, you can still make progress, and that's for here.
Are you guys ready for a motion?
Yeah, certified by our government check. Okay, thank you. So, yeah.
Okay, so I'll move that we find Desert-Scape Management violated the government code by excavating without first notifying the Regional Notification Center of intent to excavate, which is 4216-2B, no ticket.
I'll second that.
Hudson,
Secretary?
Yes.
Johns,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Munoz,
Yes.
Simonian,
Yes.
A motion is adopted. Violation number 2, Government Code 4216.4C1, failure to contact 911 emergency services after causing damage to the gas facility.
I'll just go ahead and jump into this. I move that we find Desert-Scape Management violated the government code by failing to contact 911 emergency services after causing damage to a gas facility, which is 4216-4C1, no 911 call after damage.
Member Clausen seconds.
And the Secretary?
Hudson,
Yes.
Johns,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Munoz,
Yes.
Simonian,
Yes.
Okay, motion adopted. So that proposes sanction of mandatory completion of the board's education course, financial penalty, the amount to be determined by the board, a corrective action to be determined by the board. For those of you who find that the violation did occur, please state what you think is an appropriate sanction. Doing so, please list the provisions of section 4201 of Title 19 California Code of Regulations that you're using as a basis of your determination and facts you relied on. Members?
To maintain consistency, I will just start the discussion by saying that education is good and $1,000 penalty financial sanction, I think is appropriate for this one as well.
Sure, I know we have to look at each case individually, so even though the previous cases may somewhat alike, I don't think we do it on this own merit.
Very sounds good, John. So, that's it. Number.
Member Clausen, one thing that just worries me, disturbs me is, and the same in the last case, lack of responding to information requests. That's very concerning for me to work in these spaces. So I just wanted to make sure everybody takes that into account while talking about sections.
Yeah, remember, John, that I did mention that there was quite a pile of dirt, and that if it common in the residence, as you saw where this occurred along the curb, there are a lot of utility lines and things like that do parallel the road. And it does warrant, adhering to all the rules and regulations. I'm okay with what we're going to propose, but if you can, is that your official motion or you?
No, I was just opening it up for discussion. I think I pointed out the part that concerned me was, yes, this person did, the owner did respond to a phone call. And I'm seeing, or at least throughout all of these packets, seeing a trend that the line shouldn't have been there. I shouldn't have hit it because it should not have been there. I just want to focus back on, you should call. You should call, and if something happens, you should call for help by calling 911. So I just want to repeat that because I think it's very important. But with that, I will make an official motion, which is based on our findings. I move that we recommend the Contractor State Licensing Board order Desert-Scape Management to take the board's educational course and pay a financial penalty of $1,000 as the correct step.
Member Clausen, second.
So, motion's been made and seconded. Secretary?
Lawson,
Yes.
Johns,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Munoz,
Yes.
Simonian,
Yes.
Motion is adopted. Okay, item 10. Next item before us is an action item on the decision of an NOPV to Scialla Construction Incorporated, investigation 247224. Scialla Construction Incorporated has not responded to the NOPV, and the jurisdiction is the California State License Board. I will now turn to members of the board. Deliberate on each violation separately and decide whether the violation occurred before moving to the next. If we determine that the respondent committed at least one violation, we will then determine which sanction is appropriate. Violation 1, Government Code 4216.2B, excavating without first notifying the Regional Notification Center of intent to excavate. Please state whether you agree that the violation occurred. In doing so, please list the facts you relied upon to make your determination.
Chairman, with regards to 4216.2B, based on the information investigation, there was a ticket, but it was not a ticket for this contractor or this excavator. It was a different ticket. It was 4 days later. And there was no evidence by the RNC that there was a ticket by this contractor. So therefore, so that's the operation of 4216.
I concur with Member Johnson, and I also think that that is in itself is frightening because this is vertical boring. We have to take it. So this is a big job. It's not a little, it's not a little pile of dirt. So the scale of the massive amount of damage this could have caused is a lot bigger. And for a company that has all the equipment and is making its bread and butter off of vertical boring, this is very concerning that a ticket wasn't acquired prior to the start of their work, that they have the responsibility to the people of California to protect them from the potential of having a dig in.
Have a motion of violation.
Make the motion. I move that we find Scialla Construction Inc. violating the government code by excavating without first notifying. Start with that. I move that we find Scialla Construction Inc. violated the government code by excavating without first notifying the Regional Notification Center of the intent to excavate on 4216.2B.
Member Munoz, I second that motion.
The secretary, please call roll.
Dawson,
Yes.
Johns,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Munoz,
Yes.
Simonian,
Yes.
Motion is adopted. Violation number 2, Government Code 4216.4C1, failure to contact 911 emergency services after causing damage to gas facility. Members, we'd like to begin the deliberation.
It's very clear that they did not call 911 after the incident, so I don't see any evidence any other way.
So I didn't see anything noted here that they did call that, since they were unresponsive.
And as I read the report, it was a 1-inch line, which is considerably different, it's, I would say, a bigger carrier of gas than the 1/2 inch line we commonly see.
Member Simonian, I'll make a motion that we move, that we find Scialla Construction Incorporated in violation of Government Code 4216.4C1 by failing to call 911 emergency services after causing damage to a gas facility.
I'll second that. Seconded by Member Johnson. Secretary, please call roll.
Dawson,
Yes.
Johns,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Munoz,
Yes.
Simonian,
Yes.
Motion is adopted. So violation number 3. California Code of Regulations, Title 19, Section 4151C, failure to cooperate with the investigation. Members, cooperation?
Mr. Johnson, I can see that our investigative team made numerous attempts to contact them via email, by USL mail, US mail, certification, and still no response. So definitely a violation of California Code Regulation Title 19 and 4151C.
That motion.
Member Clausen, I move that we find Scialla Construction violated Title 19 of the California Code of Regulations by failing to cooperate with the investigation.
Member Munoz, I'll second that.
Secretary, please call roll.
Dawson,
Yes.
Johns,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Munoz,
Yes.
Simonian,
Yes.
Okay, motion is adopted. That proposes sanctions of mandatory completion of the board's education course, financial penalty, the amount to be determined by the board, and corrective action to be determined by the board. For those of you who find the violation did occur, please state what you think is appropriate sanction. If doing so, please list the provisions of Section 4201 of Title 19 of the California Code of Regulations that you're using as the basis for your determination and facts you relied upon. First, deliberation.
Member Munoz, I think the education is good, but I would say that this financial sanction should be at least $5,000 because they failed to participate in remediating their own lack of compliance. They didn't participate in the investigation. Every attempt was made. Our staff reached out in multiple methods to try to get a hold of them, to try to make sure that they understood the gravity of the situation. They just didn't respond. So I just think this is unacceptable, and usually people remember what it cost them financially. So I would say 5,000 is a good place.
And I agree with Emerald Caro, because it seems like they just completely disregard for the whole system from start to finish.
So Member Johns, I think we saw on this that the equipment used, you alluded to earlier. This is, I mean, an auger going down, they're putting in light standard poles. That's what we're here for, is to prevent these from happening. I think this is, besides, in combination with the others, if they did damage a line, they didn't respond, by following through 911 calling and emergency action, and then not participating in investigation or showing any corrective approach. I would propose that we maximize and a $10,000 fine for this. So
I can support that.
I'm throwing it out there for discussion.
I think the problem is we don't know how they think, but the fact that they have heavy equipment and they're out there doing this day in, day out, you wouldn't buy that, you wouldn't be doing this work if you was your bread and butter. Just shows a disregard for the people of California and their safety in general.
Their training with the state license board requires understanding the call before you dig rules and safety for the public, and I think that's, and then the fact that they didn't respond back to this. Member Johnson?
Mr. Chair, for concurring with, Member Muñoz's first initial financial penalty of 5,000. I can see the reason for the 10,000. But right now, I think the 5,000 would, that along with the educational course with advice and getting those folks on board.
And Member Johns, I can go along with that, but I am on the record of showing that this is, to me, is the flagrant violation that we're taking a stance against. So looking for a motion?
All right. I'll go ahead and, based on our findings, I move that we recommend the Contractor State Licensing Board order Scialla Construction to take the board's education course and or pay the financial penalty of, we'll make it 6,000 and take as the corrective action.
So 6,000 is the,
Member Glassman, I'll second that.
have a second? Awesome. So, Secretary, please take roll call.
Lawson,
Yes.
Johns,
Yes?
Johnson,
No.
Munoz,
Yes.
Simonian,
Yes.
Oh, the motion is adopted. Yes. I voted 4-1. Take a break, a real quick break, and we've been at it for a little over an hour, so take a short 9-minute break. And return back at, guess we'll be back at 2:20. That gives us 11 minutes. Okay, we're ready to reconvene. And returning back to item 11. So this is on NOPV to phase 3 communications. Investigation C 2415000002. The phase 3 communication has responded to the NOPV in writing and response no contest. Jurisdiction, California State License Board. I'll now turn to the members of the board. We will deliberate each violation separately and decide whether the violation occurred before moving to the next. If we determine that the respondent committed at least one violation, we will then determine what sanction is appropriate. So violation 1, Government Code 4216.2B, excavating without first notifying the Regional Notification Center. Bruce. Oh. Back of my agenda here.
Mr. Chair, representatives from phase 3 communication came through to address the board today.
Okay. So let me just introduce you properly here. Okay, Ron, can I have you introduce yourself properly with your names, company, and
Okay,
please
my
go
name,
ahead.
my name is Nicholas DeZuberia, and I work with Phase 3 Communications.
Hey, good afternoon. My name is Akbalia. I also work with Basic Communications.
Okay. Please proceed. You have 15 minutes.
Okay, so we've been in business about 32 years. We do thousands of excavations. We have a procedure for all this. Unfortunately, this between a miscommunications between inspectors of the project that went on for about 5 months. This is the tail end of the project. The original.
Sorry to stop you. You have the microphone here. Would be better.
Sorry.
Oh, there we go. Yeah.
Okay. So this project went on for about 5, it started in December of 23. The excavation that we're talking about was actually a restoration. That was in May of 24. So it was a final, all we were doing is asphalting. So that was, we've set a budget and actually really Akbar has done all the homework on this. So we've always had procedures. This is the one-off that slipped out. The only thing that we did is we didn't have an active USA at that moment. We'd been going on for 5 months. This project had been happening. Just that one restoration where an inspector called and said, hey, I need this restored. We rolled out a crew. Our USA had not been, it had expired at that point. That's it, you know. All right, Akbar is the one that's done all that. We've done everything that the code's asked us to do. And but him and his brother have taken on the training. We sent people out to all the board certifications and to get this, just to follow with the, you know, the requirements that you guys set forward.
I appreciate you coming in. Anything further? Okay. Ms. Brandon, do we have a rebuttal to that?
I'm sure there's no response at this time.
Well, thank you for coming in and sharing that with us.
I won't.
We'll proceed on to. Okay, so we'll, back to the members, for voting, on violation 1, Government Code 4216-2B, activating without first notifying the Regional Notification Center.
Right, so I'm just gonna kind of walk through my understanding of this report. So on May 22nd of 2024, Phase 3 Communications excavated without a ticket near Silicon Valley Power's 12-inch natural gas pipeline. From the investigation, it looks like the last time they got a ticket was in November of 2023. And if I look at the timeline of everything that happened, the reason why this was caught was because of the Silicon Valley's pipeline was being audited at the time. But it looks like there was multiple attempts over a period of time to get the information about this investigation, get all the information, what happened, how did this occur. And today we do have a pretty nice, a very nice actual response from Phase 3 Communications dated on July 2nd. Almost a year after the last request was made to have participation in the investigation. So it looks like from the time that this, what could have been a really bad situation, it looks like there has been a lot of work to resolve the issue or at least learn from the issue. But the fact of the matter is during the investigation, there was no interaction with Phase 3 communications during the investigation. And the gas line that was at risk was a 12-inch natural gas line.
Member Johnson, so it relates to violation of 4216(2)B, excavating without first notifying the regional notification center. Again, there was no active ticket. The ticket had expired based on your admission as well as in the documentation. And per the RNC, the regional notification center, they were unable to find anything that was active at that time or valid. So based on that information, I showed that they did violate 4216(2)B.
I'm going to break from our deliberation for a second. Did you follow up with you at this podium? Were you going to respond to?
Oh, I thought you asked me questions, so I was gonna answer.
Oh, okay.
So,
All right.
because there's all this, so there's an answer to all these questions and, oh, no, okay. Oh, so I don't need to answer this.
Yeah, I don't think I think we're
Right.
done with your presentation
Okay.
and we're back into deliberating. Thank you. Okay. So,
Member Science, based on our findings, I move that we find Phase 3 communications in violation of Government Code 4216.2B, excavating without first notifying the regional notification center.
I'll second that motion.
Nelson,
Yes.
thank you.
Johns,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Munoz,
Yes.
Simonian,
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. Violation 2. California Code of Regulations, Title 19, Section 4151, failure to cooperate with the investigation. Members,
And I agree with, Member Munoz, that looks like the investigator made numerous attempts to get in contact with them through their office, through phone numbers that were provided, and it didn't go anywhere until a year later.
Sorry, I'm gonna step in. I get it, but that's not the case at all. So,
Michael, I think I gotta stop you here. So we're in deliberation time, so. So you thought there.
So yeah, that was my thought. They had numerous attempts to get in contact with them based on the investigation. I agree that they did not comply.
Somewhat confused based on read all the information, but based on the response of this communication and the executive director's comment, well, when asked that they participated or they gave them everything they were looking for. Not sure if that's true or if it's not true, so I'm kind of confused on whether or not the investigator was given the information in a timely fashion or if it's untimely. So that's my concern, but it is the issue that it was not timely to report.
I mean, we can ask council, but I think we can only look at what's in this report. So whatever is in this report is for us, but so at the end of the day, in this report, there was numerous attempts to reach out, and there's no data that came back within the timeline. And I think it's important to focus on the fact that the investigation, the open window of an investigation is critical, because it shows, hey, you know what, we have this situation, we're addressing it, and we're gonna respond in a timely fashion to make sure that this doesn't continue to occur. It shows that they're taking 4216, and, you know, an entity is taking 4216 seriously. And I think the report that they made after the fact is good, but I don't see evidence that there was compliance during the investigation.
Question is, after the fact, or was it late? In other words, or was it on time? Here we have this information.
Yeah, so if you look at the exhibits, and the timeline itself, you see the second investigation on July 15, 2024. There was a second request because of a lack of response from June 10th. The investigator reached out, there was no response. There was an attempt to call them. So you see that there's a call on August 6th. And then you see that there was another call. Exhibit 14, there was another call. And then on exhibit 15, you can see that they did make contact. Can I call you later? Yes. But from the outline of the investigator of all the events that happened, if you go down the timeline, which is on page 3, you see that on August 6th, investigator telephoned Desert-Scape, and there was no answer. Investigator left a voicemail requesting a return call, and then that was it. So at the time that they wrote this, there had been no information had been provided by phase 3. So that's February 3rd, 2025.
My question is, the communication that the letter received from phase 3 communication dated July 2nd or July 2nd, 2025. Is that late based on our requirements?
Well, all the requests were made in 2024. From what I said.
Do we know the time frame that they expected the information back? I know the law stands one thing. I guess we have to give this to council to confirm what the requirement is for time we can track.
I think they give them the timeline to respond, and they gave them an extension, and they gave them every attempt to give them more time to respond in a timely fashion. And all of that is to reduce the risk long-term of the person, of the entity not understanding. So it says very clearly that they have a timeline to respond to, and they do not.
Member Clausen, from what I see, the packet that we got from July 2nd was in response to the notice of probable violation issued on May 19, 2025. Correct. Not to initial responses, or not to initial inquiries during the event.
To me, this looks like if I ignore it, it might go away, and then, oh, it didn't go away, so now let me address this seriously. And I think that isn't not a good precedent to set. I think from the moment that you knew that something had gone terribly wrong, as a professional in this industry, you owe everyone's safety to make sure that you did the job right.
So did occur, the violation was the no ticket digging and did not have a timely response. Does anybody want to have a motion for this?
So based on the evidence of the packet, the investigation, I move that we find phase 3 communication violated Title 19 of the California Code of Regulations by failing to cooperate with the investigation.
You have a second or
Member Simonian, I'll second that.
that's it? We'll go to the secretary.
Lawson,
Yes.
Johns,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Munoz,
Yes.
Simonian,
Yes.
Okay, the motion is adopted. Now we will discuss sanctions. Staff proposes sanctions of mandatory completion of the board's education course, financial penalty and the amount to be determined by the board, and corrective action to be determined by the board. For those of you who find that the violation did occur, please state what you think is an appropriate sanction. In doing so, please list the provisions of section 4201, Title 19 of the California State Regulation Code of Regulations that you're using as a basis for your determination and facts you relied upon. Members who would like to continue deliberation.
Member Munoz. So I think that the letter that was sent to us on July 2nd, outlining their internal investigation and outlining all these things really does show that there was growth. There was a learning that took place after the NOPV was issued to them. They did some root cause analysis. They did some gap analysis. They took the time to investigate internally, see where they could improve things. So I would like to say that that was a good step. And the report is what we would probably want every company to do. Timeliness is also important. So I think setting that aside, I think the education is important, but the not participating with the investigation, I would say would lead me to feel like this should be a sanction of about $5,000, but I am open to reducing that because this investigation that they did internally is extremely, it shows that they focused their efforts. They did what we hope that everyone does when they go through the education process. So I see two things happening here simultaneously. So I would like to discuss financial sanctions, maybe $1,000 so they don't forget. But I think this does also show that they did take it serious in the end.
Member Clausen, I agree. I think it's a great report. I liked the portions where they're training some of their lower level managers about underground safety, not just a safety manager, which happens in a lot of companies. And I'd be behind $1,000 because I think the growth happened. I think it's there. And it was a great performance. I definitely appreciate them coming in to discuss with us.
Johnson, I think their corrective action also warrants maybe $1,000. I believe the things they put in place to safeguard Pathfinder education and training, along with the coordinator, I think would move them in the right direction. But it's not happening again. So.
I'll make a motion.
All right. Based on our findings, I'll go ahead and move that we recommend the Contractor State Licensing Board order phase 3 communications to take the board's educational course and pay a financial penalty in the amount of $1,000.
Member Simonian, I'll second.
Lawson,
Yes.
Johns,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Munoz,
Yes.
Simonian,
Yes.
Okay. Motion is adopted. Item 12. Next item before us is an action item on the decision of the NOPV to Reid Concrete Construction Incorporated. Investigation in 2428369. Reid Concrete Construction Incorporated has responded to the NOPV with written response requesting to sign up for an education course. Jurisdiction is California State License Board. So now turn to the members of the board. We will deliberate each violation separately and decide whether this violation occurs or move to the next. If we determine the responding committed at least one violation, we will then determine what sanction is appropriate. Violation 1. Government Code 4216.2B, excavating without first notifying the Regional Notification Center of intent to excavate. Members would like to begin this deliberation.
Member Johnson. I thought that based on the documentation and the investigation, that there was a violation of 4216.2B, based on the information that was provided. The excavator stated that he felt there was no need for it since he knew you were line marked from a year ago. And so he already knew where that he knew where the line was. And so we also verified with the Regional Notification Center that it was located, so.
I concur with Member Johnson.
So I'm Member Simonian. So I move that we find Reid Concrete Construction in violation of Government Code 4216.2B by excavating without first notifying the Regional Notification Center of intent to excavate.
Member Clausen, second.
Okay, Secretary, please read roll call.
Clausen,
Yes.
Johns,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Munoz,
Yes.
Simonian,
Yes.
Motion is adopted. Violation 2, Government Code 4216.4C1, failure to contact 911 emergency services after causing damage to gas facility. Members who'd like to begin this, feel free.
In this case, as relates to 4216.4C1, again, there was an issue to that they did not contact 911 emergency services. And there was no evidence that they did.
I concur with that, but I do want to point out one thing that I thought was concerning in one of the statements that was made. I think one of the things that was important in this whole thing, what steps, if any, have Reid Concrete taken to prevent similar damage in the future? So they didn't call 911, they didn't get a ticket, they didn't do all these things. But their answer was very interesting to me. Their answer was, be very mindful of marked utilities. Even though this was marked, accidents still happen. So I would think if you start line, you didn't call, your answer would have been something more like this. So I just found this to be surprising as the answer when it could have gone a whole different way. Like, this isn't somebody's house. You look at the picture that's trenched right next to the little hose. There's like 6 inches next to a wall that this all could have gone very badly for. So, yes, they didn't call 911. And I didn't see in this entire report too much of a focus on those two things. So I'll go ahead and make a motion that I move that we find Reid Concrete Construction violated the government code by failing to contact 911 emergency services after causing damage to the gas facility, which is 4216.4C1, no 911.
I'll second that.
Secretary, please call roll.
Clausen,
Yes.
Johns,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Munoz,
Yes.
Simonian,
Yeah.
Adopted. Okay, staff proposes the sanctions of mandatory completion of the board's education course, financial penalty, the amount to be determined by the board, a corrective action to be determined by the board. So for those of you who find the violation did occur, please state what you think an appropriate sanction. In doing so, please list the provisions, section 4201, title 19 of California Code of Regulations that you are using as a basis of your determination of facts you relied upon. Members who would like to continue deliberation.
Member Smokin, I just want to point out that with his statement that he had called the USA a year ago, with the underground being so saturated and so many more new undergrounds going in every day, very important that you call 811 before you dig at that time, because you don't know what's in there now.
So based on a couple of the statements that were made, I think that education absolutely needs to happen for this company, for the employees, for the owner. But I also think that $1,000 sanction is appropriate, and I really hope they learn from this, because I think just seeing the image of how close it could have been to really causing damage is terrifying to me. So I would like to see a sanction of $1,000. If anyone thinks it should be more, I'm open to that, but let's start at $1,000.
No second?
I'll second that.
I do think, just based upon our discussions here, that the community will hear that we are looking at each violation like this and appropriately discussing it. So we have a second, and so
Chair, if we can just restate the motion.
I'll get a formal motion based on our findings that we discussed earlier, violation of 4216(2)B and 4C1. I move that we make a recommendation to the Contractor State Licensing Board to order the Reid Concrete Construction to take the board's education course and incur a financial penalty in the amount of $1,000.
Watson,
Yes.
Johns,
yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Munoz,
Yes.
Simonian,
Yes.
Motion is adopted. Number 13. Next item before us is an action item on a decision on NOPV with Framework Construction and Remodeling Incorporated investigation N2427761. Framework Construction and Remodeling Incorporated has not responded to the NOPV, and the jurisdiction is the Contractor State License Board. Not the members of the board. And we will deliberate each violation separately and decide whether the violation occurred before moving to the next. If we determine that the responding committed at least one violation, we will then determine what sanction is appropriate. Violation number 1, Government Code 4216.2B, excavating without first notifying regional notification center of intent to excavate.
Mr. Chair, Bill, if there was a violation of Government Code 4216.2B, they admitted it, number one. Number two, they was not aware that they needed it. So there was no need for them to contact their own city. So, and DRT could not find the ticket, but based on that information, leaves a violation.
So was that the motion or that was just?
I agree. I agree that the investigation makes that pretty clear.
So I can go ahead and make a motion. Yeah. Okay, move that. Am I the right one? I move that we find Framework Construction and Remodeling Inc. violated The government code by excavating without first notifying the Division of Application Center of intent to excavate. Violation 4216.2 fee, no ticket.
Lawson, I second.
Secretary, please call out the roll.
Dawson,
Yes.
Johns,
Yes?
Johnson,
Yes.
Munoz,
Yes.
Simonian,
Yes.
Motion is adopted. Violation number 2. Government Code 4216.4C1, excavator failure to contact 911 emergency services upon discovering or causing damage to subsurface insulation resulting in the escape of flammable, toxic, or corrosive gas or liquid. Deliberation.
Dr. Johnson, again, the violation of 4216.4C1, again, based on the investigation as well as the excavator admitting it, if they failed to do that.
Do you have a motion?
I'll make the motion. I move that we find Framework Construction and Remodeling Inc. violated government code by failing to contact 911 emergency services upon discovering or causing damage to the subsurface installation resulting in the escape of flammable, toxic, and corrosive gas or liquids. Violation 4216.4C1.
Member Munoz, I second.
Secretary?
Dawson,
Yes.
Johns,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Munoz,
Yes.
Simonian,
Yes.
It is adopted. Okay. Staff proposes sanctions of mandatory completion of the board's education course, a financial penalty, the amount to be determined by the board, corrective action to be determined by the board. For those of you who find the violation did occur, please state what you think is an appropriate sanction. Doing so, please list the provisions of Section 4201 of Title 19 of the California Code of Regulations that you're using as a basis for your determination and facts you relied upon. Members who would like to continue deliberation.
I just think that this one is, you know, if you look at their contract, they have complaint disclosure information for this license. If you look at this one, the thing about this one is that it's for an ADU, and we're gonna see a lot of ADUs popping up here and there and everywhere. So, I think this is a good one for everyone to learn from, so obviously they should go to the training, the board sanction, the board, training as a sanction. But I think that we really need the contractor state licensing board to remind people through that these ADUs require all these things, and I think, $1,000 sanction is appropriate for this one, but I can't even tell you, in my own neighborhood, I've probably seen just within a couple mile radius, I've seen like 6 of these ADUs go up pretty quickly. So I think, it's a really good reminder to all of these, anyone that breaks the plane of the earth needs to be reminded that they need to call before they dig. And it was good that they were able to stop it, but they didn't call 911, they didn't get the ticket. So there's a lot of luck that happened, so nothing went wrong, so that no one got hurt. So I think that, you know, I'm open to a different amount, but I think $1,000 to remind them that this is an important aspect of their work is important.
Member Lawson, I concur with you. Member Munoz, it's gonna be happening a lot, and we need to make sure that's out there. That's it's important. It doesn't matter in the streets or not.
So with that, I'll go ahead and based on our findings, I move that we recommend to the Contractor State Licensing Board order Framework Construction and Remodeling to take the board's educational course and pay a financial penalty in the amount of $1,000.
I'll second that.
Secretary, please call roll.
Dawson,
Yes.
Johns,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Munoz?
Yes.
Simonian?
Yes.
Motion is adopted. Item 14, next item before us is an action item on the decision of the NOPV to Selvin Ramirez Plumbing, investigation number N2427573. Selvin Ramirez Plumbing has not responded to the NOPV. The jurisdiction is the California State License Board. After the members of the board will discuss each violation separately and decide whether the violation occurred before moving to the next. If we determine that the respondent committed at least one violation, we will then determine what sanction is appropriate. Violation 1, Government Code 4216.2B, excavating without first notifying the Regional Notification Center of intent to excavate. Bruce?
I'll just summarize this one. This one happened on October 11th of 2024. This is another one where Selvin Ramirez Plumbing was excavating to install a new sewer line for an ADU. So again, the ADU, a half-inch plastic dash line was struck with a chipping gun, resulting in Desert-Scape. So based on the investigation, they did not call 811 to get a ticket prior to the start of the project. So that's first things first. That's what this report outlines.
I would agree. Again, the investigation at the regional notification center, they could not find a ticket at that location. And then there was a ticket that was created, the damage ticket that was after the fact with the start date of 9/26 and the damage occurred on September 24th.
So with that, I'll move that we find Selvin Ramirez Plumbing violated the government code by excavating without first notifying the Regional Notification Center of intent to excavate, which is 4216B. Excavation without a ticket.
Second that.
Secretary?
Lawson?
Yes.
Johns?
Yes.
Johnson?
Yes.
Munoz?
Yes.
Simonian?
Yes.
Motion adopted. Violation number 2, Government Code 4216.4C1, failure to call 911 emergency services upon discovering or causing damage to subsurface installation, resulting in the escape of flammable, toxic, or corrosive gas or liquid.
Senator Johnson, again, based on 4216.4C1 violation, there again, based on their own admission, there has been no call to 911. And based on the investigation, no findings that there was.
Concur.
We should make a motion. Move that we find Sylvan Ramirez Plumbing violated the government code by failing to contact 911 emergency service upon causing damage to a subsurface installation, resulting in the escape of flammable, toxic, or corrosive gas or liquids. Violation of 4216.4C1.
I'll second that motion.
Secretary?
Lawson?
Yes.
Johns?
Yes.
Johnson?
Yes.
Munoz?
Yes.
Simonian?
Yes.
Adopted. And the staff proposes sanctions of mandatory completion of the board's education course, financial penalty, the amount to be determined by the board, corrective action to be determined by the board. For those of you who find that a violation did occur, please state what you think an appropriate sanction. In doing so, please list the provisions of section 4201 of Title 19 of the California Code of Regulations that you're using as a basis of your determination of facts you relied upon.
I have a quick question for staff. At the time of this incident, Selvin Ramirez Plumbing was not a licensed contractor, but the governing board is a contractor state license. Is that the correct authority?
It's the correct jurisdiction. So looking at this, just looking at the images of this, these houses are, you know, you can kind of see the other houses. I'm visualizing that all four houses could go pretty quickly. If conditions were a little bit different, 911 wasn't called. I think education is important. It looks like they're getting their act together one step at a time. They got back, with the contractors, the state contractors board, they got their license renewed. They worry me because this is like in someone's backyard, really close to four houses. Obviously the education is important, but I'm worried about these sanctions. $1,000 is a good place to start, but it just seems like we're catching them on like the tail. They're chasing it. They're chasing the next job. This one worries me. Just don't want them to forget how important this is. The safety aspect is extremely important all the time, but especially when you're working in a backyard, like 15 feet from a baby's bedroom, you know, that's terrifying. So do you guys want to talk about a different amount? Is $1,000 fair? Is this one more severe? Because as Member Cousins pointed out, it seems like they're chasing compliance.
Member Johns, I see, this type of work is the issue. I don't see anything that they did beyond what's common practice in our industry. It wasn't using, wrong equipment or it's doing what's commonly done. I think it is something that we, as the board, should take on with staff and discuss improvements. You mentioned things like the ADU issue. That is an issue that, definitely merits more consideration about addressing them. But I think in this particular case, I don't see anything that they did that warrants anything more in this case. Anybody else?
Just wanted to make one comment, because the amateur emergency ticket was, sent over by the homeowner. So that's even more scary.
I think we're seeing a lot of red flags that I think we should just talk about later, but I think that was another one about the homeowner feeling responsible, take ownership. As if they're gone differently, they see the issue. I just don't see full committed to compliance. I feel that they're chasing it. So I'm okay with 1,000, but if you guys want about more than that, I just want to make sure that they do not forget how important and how lucky they were that nothing had a different condition.
Entertain a motion?
Member Claus, I think we should entertain 2,000 based on what Member Munoz and Member Johnson both stated. There's some troubling facts in here that's just hard to get over. So I would propose 2,000 for a sanction amount.
I agree with that. So, yes, based on our findings, I move that we recommend the contractor's state license board order Selvin Ramirez Plumbing to take the board's education course and pay a financial penalty of $2,000.
I'll second that.
Okay, Secretary, please call roll.
Austin,
Yes.
Johns,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Munoz,
Yes.
Simonian,
Yes.
The motion is adopted. Number 15. Next item before us is an action item on the decision on an NOPV to HTA construction and development investigation in 243160941. HTA Construction and Development has not responded to the NOPV jurisdiction, California State License Board. We'll now turn to members of the board. We will deliberate each violation separately and decide whether the violation occurred before moving to the next. We will determine the respondent committed at least one violation. We will then determine the sanction for the appropriate. Government Code 4216.2B, excavating without first notifying the Regional Notification Center of intent to excavate. Number 2, and deliberation.
Member Johnson. Again, basically the investigation, there's verification that there was no ticket that took the Regional Notification Center. Based on that information, it was violation 4216.2.
Concur, and it also says that Miller stated during his phone interview that he knew where the gas line was. So I think he had a full sense that he didn't need.
Make a motion. That we find HTA construction and development violated Government Code excavated without first notifying the Regional Notification Center. Intent to estimate 4216.2B notated.
I'll second.
Okay. Overall.
Clausen,
Yes.
Johns,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Munoz,
Yes.
Simonian,
Yeah.
Adopted. Violation 2, Government Code 4216.4C1. Failure to contact 911 emergency services after causing damage to a gas facility.
Member Johnson, again, initially, no, he did not call. But based on his own admission, it was a violation of Government Code 4216.4C1. No evidence found. Otherwise.
Number John, I see that it said it was a 1.5-inch plastic line. That's
Pretty big.
concerns me that it's carrying a lot of gas and there's probably was something that, yeah, it could have been picked up and it would have been marked as a basic call.
Can make a motion for that.
Yeah.
Move that we find HCA construction and development violated the Government Code by failing to contact 911 emergency services after causing damage to a gas facility. Violation 4216.4C1.
I'll second it.
Roll call.
Clausen,
Yes.
Johns,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Munoz,
Yeah.
Simonian,
Yes.
Carries. Adopted. Staff proposes sanctions of mandatory completion of the board's education course. A financial penalty, the amount to be determined by the board. A corrective action to be determined by the board. For those of you that find the violation did occur, please state what you think the appropriate sanction, what is an appropriate sanction. In doing so, please list the provisions of section 4201 of Title 19 of the California Code of Regulations data you are using as a basis for your determination and facts you relied upon.
I don't think there's a question. I think the most disturbing thing is he thought he knew where it was, and probably didn't know where it was, and somewhere I read that while we were excavating around it, so you almost uncovered it, still excavating around that gas line when it was struck. That to me is kind of, if I know where it is, I don't have to call. I'm good. That concerns.
Remember, John, I also talked about that being a bigger line too. Because not calling 911 is should be considered with a larger line like that if you understood.
I know the report doesn't say this, but I really don't understand why they're not calling 911. It's pretty big.
Yes.
Yeah. Or are you not panicking? Call 911. So that being said, what do you guys think?
I think based on the diameter of the line, the amount of damage that could have occurred, $2,000 would be out of the question for a financial penalty along with the board's education course.
I agree with Member Foster.
I do agree that, and I know we discussed that. He said he knew where the line was. Well, you should know to call 811 if you know where the line is, if there's a line. So kind of feel like he failed there. And then again, damaging a line that size, definitely 2,000 is a minimum.
Based on our findings, Member Clausen, based on our findings, I move that we recommend the contractor state license board order HTA Construction and Development to take the board's education course and pay a financial penalty in the amount of $2,000.
I'll second that. Secretary, please call roll.
Clausen,
Yes.
Johns,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Munoz.
Yes.
Simonian,
Yes.
Motion is adopted. Okay, item 16. Next item before us is an action item on the decision of the NOPV to RB Plumbing investigation into 429800054. RB Plumbing has not responded to the NOPV jurisdiction California State License Board. So now turn to members of the board. We will deliberate each violation separately and decide whether the violation occurred before moving to the next. If we determine that the respondent committed at least one violation, we will then determine what sanctions is appropriate. Violation number 1. Government Code 4216.2B, excavating without first notifying the Regional Notification Center and intent to excavate. Wait a minute.
This one is crazy. They're in the forest and they're excavating to hit a gas line, right? And this is in Rim Forest. So I mean, you should call all the time, but this one is like the whole forest could go down. So I didn't see any evidence that showed that they tried. They said that they knew where it was. So I think the report is very clear that there's a violation of not notifying the regional center within 10 to excavate.
Along with that, he stated that he exposed the lines before. So. And then, of course, he admitted to no cause as well. I can go ahead and make a motion on it if you like. Move that we find RV plumbing violated the government code by excavating without first notifying the regional association center of intent to excavate violation of 4216.2B on ticket.
I'll second.
Lawson,
Yes.
Johns,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Munoz,
Yes.
Simonian,
Yes.
Motion is adopted. Violation 2, Government Code 4216.4C1, excavator failure to contact 911. Emergency services upon discovering or causing damage to subsurface installation resulting in the escape of flammable, toxic, or corrosive gas or liquid.
So I think, Member Johnson outlined it, but I'll go ahead and move that we find RV plumbing violated, government codes 4216.4. Failure to call 911 after damage.
I'll second.
That was a motion, okay? So, that's very-
Lawson,
Yes.
Johns,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Munoz,
Yes.
Simonian,
Yes.
A motion carries. I propose a sanction the mandatory completion of the board's education course, financial penalty, the amount to be determined by the board, corrective action to be determined by the board. For those of you who find this violation did occur, please state what you think the appropriate sanction. Doing so, please list provision of section 4201, title 19 of the California Code of Regulations that you are using as the basis of your determination, facts you relied upon.
I think this is important to read. Explain why RV plumbing did not obtain an 811 ticket. I knew the location of the gas line and had exposed it since it was only a few inches below the ground level. And that makes sense in the mountains, you know, it probably was higher at some time, the erosion happens and all these things, which is why it's so important to call before you dig. But then it says has RV plumbing ever obtained an 811 ticket either by calling 811 or using a regional notification center? No. Terrifying, right? So, I think, I mean, he did say he was retiring, I think someplace in this packet, but even so, I think the education, he talks to other people. I'm sure people are gonna call him for knowledge in the future. This guy really needs to do the training, and I think a sanction of $1,000 is appropriate. But it's amazing that no ticket ever.
Member Simonian. And also for the fact that it says he went to the gas company 100 feet from where he lives. And according to the statement, he was told by the gas company not to call 911 because it wasn't a large gas leak. Can't imagine the gas company saying, not reported. Any gas leak is could be a large gas leak.
Okay, so with that, do we want to discuss the different sanction amount, or is that seem reasonable?
I think that's increasing. It's scary that he's never called one in. I think we're seeing a bit of a track record there with that, but I think that's ridiculous.
So based on our findings, I'll move that we recommend to the contractor state licensing board that they order RV plumbing to take towards education course and pay a financial penalty in the amount of $1,000.
Member Blossom, I second.
Vice Chair?
Lawson,
Yes.
Johns,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Munoz,
Yes.
Simone,
Yes.
Take my place for just a moment. Item 17. Next item before us is an action item on the decision on the NOPV for Fairway Landscape and Irrigation Incorporated. Investigation in 24-284. Fairway Landscape and Irrigation Incorporated has not responded to the NOPV jurisdiction, California State License Board. We'll now turn to the members of the board. We'll deliberate each violation separately and decide whether the violation occurred before moving to the next. If we determine that the respondent committed at least one violation, we will then determine what sanction is appropriate. Violation 1, Government Code 4216-2B, excavating without first notifying the Regional Notification Center of intent to excavate. Bruce.
So I think this one's pretty clear. This one's a very, for those of you watching from home, this got a huge, like 3-inch notebook on this investigation. But it comes down to, was SoCal Gas notified of the proposed excavation by the Regional Notification Center before 9/14, which is the day of the incident, and their answer was no. So the damage was to the SoCal Gas line. So I think that's pretty clear.
The other interesting thing about it, he said they forgot to call, so they were too busy. So that's any business for over 50 years. But they normally call, but this case they did. Sorry to make a motion. I'll move that we find Fairfield Escape and Irrigation Inc. violated government code by excavating without first notifying the Regional Notification Center of intent to excavate. Violation of 4216.2B.
That was Fairway, you said.
I'll second.
Okay, Secretary?
Lawson,
Yes.
Johns,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Munoz,
Yes.
Simone,
Yes.
A motion adopted. Violation 2, Government Code 4216.4C1, excavator failure to contact 911 emergency services upon discovering or causing damage to a subsurface installation resulting in the escape of flammable, toxic, or corrosive gas or liquid.
Member Williams, they knew pretty quickly that they caused the damage. And here's where it gets weird, right? So they cut into the poly tubing, they hit it with a pick, it cut through the line. And they didn't call the, there's no evidence that they tried to call or even, thought to call. So I don't understand what's happening with this, project planning here, but it's very clear from the investigation that there was no attempt to call 911.
Yeah, it was 1 minute, but they didn't call.
Yeah, we're seeing kind of a pattern that the small lines are damaged and they self-repair and contact the gas company. It seems to be a violation of the law.
I move that we find Fairway Landscape and Irrigation violated the government code 4216.4C1 by failing to contact 911 emergency services upon discovering or causing damage to subsurface installation, resulting in the escape of flammable, toxic, or corrosive gas or liquid.
I'll second.
Terry?
Watson,
Yes.
Johns,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Munoz,
Yes.
Simonian,
Yeah.
Adopted. Staff proposes sanctions of mandatory completion of the board's education course. A financial penalty, the amount to be determined by the board. Corrective action to be determined by the board. For those of you who find violations that occur, please state what you think is appropriate sanction. Doing so, please list the provisions of section 4201 of Title 19 of the California Code of Regulations that you're using as a basis of your determination and the facts you relied upon.
So this one disappoints me, in the fact that, again, I think the investigators do a good job of letting them kind of like say, hey, what could you have done differently? Or is there any other information you want to share or anything? And their answers surprised me. This one was the gas line was too shallow. I don't think that's a good response. You know, again, this is showing that even after this happened, I don't know that they're taking it very seriously. So I would say, of course, education, but I think $1,000 sanction is appropriate. Hopefully they remember that the erosion is real, things change. As member Simonian said, things change all through, you know, from the start of the project to the end. There's new lines being put in all the time. So for those of you watching from home, it's important to be active in the 811 calling before you start your project and the whole project planning, and making sure that you call should you strike a line unintentionally. So I would say that's what I would propose, but do you guys think that $1,000 is appropriate, or should another value be considered?
This one was, I've been in business for 50 years, maybe with the 811. So he's called in tickets before, so it's something simple, but for him to say he's busy, well, we're gonna call it in on the same day and still wouldn't get done. I'm not sure about that. And then the other part that kind of hurts me is that they cut separate the line, then they pinched it, bent it over, which is another safety concern I have. And since they had to call 911, that could have made it worse. So I'm usually more to the 2000.
I agree with Member Johnson.
Your motion, Member Johnson?
I was gonna just add that it seems like we're seeing a consistent pattern. When they don't call 911, they seem to take repairs onto themselves. Yeah, we need to, as a board, address that problem and training and things like that. I don't know if yeah, the guy violated by not doing 911, but I think let's leave it at that, not that he did his own repairs or anything like that. Would, you know, exaggerate that amount. I'd probably stay with 1,000 is my statement.
I'm okay with the 2,000 because you're right. Being too busy, but knowing, so there's the willful element to it that is suggested in the guidance, you know, and then when given an opportunity to say, hey, I'll get a ticket every time, or I'll plan the project better, or if I do sever a line, I'll make sure that I call 911 so nobody gets hurt, so that you know that the entity was learning from past mistakes. I didn't hear any of that. So I agree with that. Make them remember.
So we got a motion. A motion. You make your motion and I won't object to you. You have a right to.
Okay, based on the findings, I move that we recommend the contractor state license bureau for Fairway Landscape and Irrigation Inc. to take the Board of Education court and pay a financial penalty in the amount of $2,000.
I'll second that.
Lawson,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Munoz,
Yes.
Simonian,
Yes.
Adopted. Item 18. Next item before us is an action item on the decision of NOPV to FK Design and Construction Incorporated. Investigation in 242694. FK Design and Construction Incorporated, jurisdiction of the California State License Board, has responded to the NOPV and request an informal hearing. The chair, I will provide an executive summary of, are they here? Are they going to present or putting my agenda here? Okay, would like to proceed with the formal hearings procedure or move forward?
We tried to see if they're online.
Okay,
Any raised hands or any notification that they're online?
we'll give them a moment here just to say, so if you're from FK Design and Construction online, please respond to us and we'll move forward.
We just repeat the online instruction, that if you need to make a comment, just hit the raise hand function, or if you're calling in, just hit #5 if you need to make a comment online.
Our online instructions are, for those of you joining us remotely, you can enter the queue to speak by using the raise hand button. If you're on the webinar, or dialing *5, if you dialed in. When your name is called, unmute yourself using the microphone button. And if you are on the webinar or dialing *6, if you're dialed in, please provide your name and organization before you comment.
Mr. Chairman, I'm just gonna interrupt for a moment. If FK Design and Construction Inc. is online, would like to participate in the hearing, please make yourself known, otherwise we will move on.
Okay. Okay, moving on. So, we won't be having the informal hearing for FK. We're moving forward with the violation. The violation 1, Government Code 4216.2B, excavating without first notifying the Regional Notification Center of intent to excavate. Members who would like to begin deliberation on this.
This one was a page turning read. This one was, so for everybody listening at home, on July 31st, 2024, FK Design Construction damaged a 2-inch plastic natural gas line belonging to SDG&E while digging with a backhoe without first contacting the Regional Notification Center. This escalated into a fire, into all kinds of events that occurred after this. This could have gone extremely bad. Luckily, nobody was hurt. There was some equipment burned in the situation, but the investigation is really clear that they did not call without first notifying the Regional Notification Center. Luckily, they called 911 before the fire broke out. So this is why it's so important to call 911 when these things happen. But I think I'll just start off with that because this one was an intense event that could have gone a lot of different ways.
For Johnson. In regards to violating 4216.2B, again, there was no ticket. They did issue a ticket. They created after the fact on July 31st at 9:05 a.m. with a start date of 8/2/5:01 p.m. They started work early, which was July 30th at 2:18 in the morning. So the ticket, they started work prior to the ticket being valid.
That was the emergency ticket you were referring to? Yeah, because we're considering did they call 811 and give a ticket for the initial work because of damage?
Yeah, they called the ticket in and the next morning, they started working at 2 a.m. They called.
For the emergency ticket though.
I'll look at it.
The tickets are done.
You guys wanna go through the timeline? So just real quick, just so we're kind of all on the same page. It looks like they had to dig in first. At approximately 2:30 a.m., they were moving the dirt around the water pipeline. They uncovered over 40 linear feet, and that's when they hit the line. And then moving on, there was an explosion at 3:24 a.m. So there was an emergency ticket, but all of this occurred,
It was a rush ticket.
a rush ticket, emergency ticket. They didn't have a ticket when they started the job.
That's the difference. You know, what I'm getting at is that the violation is excavating without first notifying the regional notification center to excavate. Correct. And so they started the work without doing that. That's what we're to be voting on.
Yeah.
And generally after an accident, they would start having emergency tickets, things like that. Okay, we're still deliberating on violation 1.
I think it's really clear that they started the job without the ticket.
Do we have a motion for that?
Member Simonian. I'll move that we find FK Design and Construction in violation of Government Code 4216.2B, no ticket, for excavating without first notifying the regional notification center of an intent to excavate.
Member Munoz, second.
That's fair.
Clausen,
Yes.
Johns,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Munoz.
Yes.
Simonian.
Yes.
Did find a violation, so staff proposes sanction of mandatory completion of the board's education course, financial penalty, amount to be determined by the board. Corrective action plan to be determined by the board. And for those of you who find the violation did occur, please state what you think is appropriate sanction. Doing so, please list the provisions of section 4201 of Title 19 of the California Code of Regulations that you're using as a basis of your determination and facts you relied upon. We'd like to continue deliberation.
Okay, so I think if we just take this into different sections, first they're using heavy equipment. Starting off the top, digging without a ticket, terrible, right? Then they hit the line, as it's leaking, a series of unfortunate events occurs. There's an explosion from the lights. But the things that bother me the most are the way that they answer the questions is, it seems like all of a sudden they became an expert in all kinds of different laws, right? So is there any other information you want to share about this damage? Again, an excellent question by the investigation team. They said, all facilities were identified with previous dig alert inspections. So they're saying, yes, we know we're supposed to get dig alert tickets. We didn't get one for this one, but we knew where everything was. However, the position of this gas line is in violation of code. Does not comply with clearance with other facility lines. Please see attached report. And then they give us a report on how it's everyone else's fault. And they give us an investigation that they did. And they give us all the requirements of how the lines are supposed to be. When it's very clear that when they set their mind to something, they can do an excellent preparation of documentation, they can prepare. Why didn't they just get the ticket first? Why did they do that? And then I just find this to be just so disappointing. This really could have gone bad. There could have been so many people that got seriously injured. I just find this one to be pretty willful, that they knew they should have had a ticket and they just decided not to get one.
And I think there's working at night as far as, caution. And you have to be a lot, more to what's going on and what could happen. I think we could start working on the ticket early, or if you were going to have the intent to do a ticket, if you make every provision, put it in place to make sure that you do it safely.
There's somehow I agree with what you're saying, but there's some kind of like disconnection in this entity, this company. So education would benefit them, but they say something like this: crew engineer advice. So at around 5:45 a.m., our crew engineer advised G&E to open a trench to uncover the pipe. So he goes on to describe things. And then he says, the gas continued to burn until 11:30 a.m. and the vast majority of SDG&E workers kept wasting their time doing nothing at all. So this is very concerning. So there's a part of the crew that has to plan the work, then there's the other part that works at night, and this could have gone very terrible. So I just feel like this is extremely willful. I would say this needs to start at 8,000 for a sanction. Yes, their Bobcat burned. Yes, they had equipment that burned. Yes, those are unfortunate losses, but this could have been lost life.
Member Johns, well, we're looking at the violation, which is not calling 811. But, and a job like this, when you do call the ticket out and people mark the line, this line would have been marked. Your whole crew sees the line and they know you have extra eyes watching it. It gets everybody on the right page. That's the intent of the law. So that your operator and his spotter and everybody would know where that line is. So the fact that they didn't do this, to me, is a construction company using this equipment. Yeah, they should know, definitely know better, and this was a major mistake. Your amount that you propose, what was it?
8,000.
8,000. I'm heard me before, 10,000 shocked me, so I'm okay with your number.
So based on our findings, I move that we recommend to the Contractor State Licensing Board that they order FK Design and Construction Inc. to take the board's educational course and pay a financial penalty in the amount of $8,000.
I'll second that.
Secretary?
Austin,
Yes.
Johns,
Yes.
Johnson.
Yeah.
Munoz,
Yes.
Simonian,
Yeah.
Okay, carries. The one we're waiting for, the last one. Item 19, decision on NOPV. The next item before us is an action item on the decision on NOPV to Cleaver Concrete Construction Incorporated. Investigation in 2421941. Cleaver Concrete Construction Incorporated has not responded to the NOPV. Jurisdiction is California State License Board. Violation 1, Government Code 4216.2B, excavating without first notifying the Regional Notification Center.
Chair, just a clarification. I mean, we have, but he said what?
3 hours covered. Yeah, ignore what I said. I'm just trying to keep people encouraged. We're on number 19. So yeah, so we look forward for deliberation on violation 1.
Chairman Johnson. So that there's a violation of 4216.2B, based on research and investigation by the investigator, the One Call Center's investigation of not being able to find a one call taking notification at that address, and that the data was aware that they needed to contact A1.
Member Munoz, I agree, and also in the report, it says that, the chief executive officer and president stated that his reason for not contacting the Regional Notification Center was, quote, excavations that to take place was approximately 25 feet away from a gas heater and other known utilities, as the building contractor had just dug a new sewer line in the same vicinity. So again, there's a sense of knowing where the line is. It does not, to be clear, does not exempt you from calling in a ticket. So by their own words, they can call the ticket, they didn't feel they need to, which is violation. So with that, I'll go ahead and move that we find Clever Concrete Construction. They violated Government Code 42162B, excavating without first notifying the Regional Notification Center.
I'll second that. Secretary roll?
Austin,
Yes.
Johns,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Munoz,
Yes.
Sean,
Yes.
Simonian.
Violation number 2, Government Code 4216.4C1, excavator failure to call 911 emergency services upon discovering or causing damage to subsurface installation, resulting in the escape of flammable, toxic, or corrosive gas or liquid.
Member Simonian, based on the investigation and their own statement on July 30th, Juan Lopez answered no if they called. So with that, I move to make a motion that we find Clever Concrete Construction in violation of Government Code 4216.4C1, failing to contact 911 emergency services upon discovering or causing damage to the subsurface installation resulting in the escape of flammable, toxic, or corrosive gas or liquid.
I'll second that motion.
Secretary?
Sean, I'm sorry, Clausen,
Yes.
Johns,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Munoz,
Yes.
Simonian,
Yes.
Propose the sanctions of mandatory completion of the board's education course. Financial penalty, amount to be determined by the board. Corrective action to be determined by the board. For those of you who find that the violation did occur, please state what you think is the appropriate sanction. Doing so, please list the provisions of section 4209 of Title 19 of the California State Code of Regulations that you're using as a basis of your determination and facts you rely upon. Liberation.
I think this one, again, I love this question. What similar, how would you prevent this in the future? It's a good answer. Since the incident, I now call 811 to make sure we locate underground lines. So I think that's a fair response. That's what kind of answer we're looking for. I learned from my mistake. I'm moving on and I'm going to call every time. I'm never too busy. I'm always going to make this call. So I think that's the spirit I'm reading this in. So I'm pleased. At least with that answer, there's a lot of things that could have gone differently, but I think the education is fair. It should be in place for this excavator. And I'm open to the $1,000, so they don't forget, because be bleeding. Make sure.
Member Johns, less forgiving when they're using a mini excavator, just because some of these things, the hand shovel, I kind of understand that, but if you're planning a job and you're bringing out a piece of equipment, go under that effort. You need to find an 811 call, so probably.
Do you think 2,000 is more appropriate for this one?
I think if you're bringing a piece of equipment on and you're calling and you're not calling and then you're damaging an 1.5-inch gas line that would have been probably marked. I'm thinking more like 5,000, but I'm okay with what you guys kind of feel is appropriate.
I agree with that.
Guess I gotta make the motion since I came out of vacation. Huh? We can make it. Okay, you want to make that for me, huh?
Yeah, he can make a motion.
All right, so this is saying, based on our findings, I move that we recommend to the state contractor state license board for Clever Construction, Concrete Construction Incorporated, take the board's education course and pay a financial penalty in the amount of $5,000.
I'll second that.
Secretary?
Clausen,
Yes.
Johns,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Munoz,
Yes.
Simonian,
Yes.
The motion's adopted.
I just want to point out that case was also an ADU, so that was another ADU case.
How are we doing without a break?
We only have 2 more, let's do it.
Is it okay? All right, item 20. Next item before us is an action item on the decision on the NOPV to Action Power Incorporated. Investigation C241570001. Action Power Incorporated has responded to NOPV and the jurisdiction is California Contractor State License Board. We'll now turn to members of the board. We will deliberate on each violation separately and decide whether the violation occurred before moving to the next. If we determine that the respondent committed at least one violation, we will then determine what sanction is appropriate. Violation 1, Government Code 4216.2B, excavating without first notifying the Regional Notification Center of intent to excavate. First.
This one's interesting because this one happened on June 5th of 2024. And when they hit a 2-inch plastic main line, when they were augering to install a temporary electrical pole. And when they asked them, why did they call the notification center? They said they didn't know there would be utilities there since this was a new construction. So again, like you were saying before, the augering, huge line, and terrifying. Pretty clear.
I concur. Infrastructure site. You would think you would be able to want to know where everything's at before you start digging.
On top of that, I think you not only can know that where everything is, but have an idea that live facilities have been placed.
So I move that we find Action Power Incorporated violated the government code 4216.2B, excavating without first notifying the regional notification center of intent to excavate.
I'll second.
Secretary?
Austin,
Yes.
Johns,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Munoz,
Yes.
Simonian.
Yes.
Motion is adopted. Violation number 2, Government Code 4216.4C1, excavator failure to contact 911 emergency services upon discovering or causing damage to subsurface installation resulting in the escape of flammable, toxic, or corrosive gas or liquid.
I think this one is also pretty clear that there's nothing in the report that they said they didn't try to call 911. So you guys are all in agreement. I'll go ahead and make a motion. So I'll move that we find Action Power violated the government code by failing to contact 911 emergency services upon discovering or causing damage to the subsurface installation, which resulted in the escape of flammable, toxic, and corrosive gas or liquid from a 2-inch line, which is 4216.4C1.
Member Clausen seconds.
Secretary?
Clausen,
Yes.
Johns,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Munoz,
Yes.
Simonian.
Yes.
Adopted. Staff proposes sanctions of mandatory completion of the board's education course, financial penalties, amount to be determined by the board, corrective action to be determined by the board. For those of you who find the violation did occur, please state what you think is the appropriate sanction. Doing so, please list the provisions of section 4201 of Title 19 of the California Code of Regulations that you are using as a basis of your determination and facts you rely upon. Members, in deliberation?
And I find this is one of the most dangerous situations. Just because you think it's new construction, nothing's out there, it's not the Wild West. And you can't just go out and do whatever you want to do. And that kind of attitude is very dangerous. So based on that, I think 8,000 would be a good amount. I'm open to hear other amounts, but I'll start at 8,000.
Member Johns, I also add to it that they're using an auger, a track mounted auger, and the equipment is gonna find what's under there. It's gonna cause damage. They're operating blindly, so, yeah, I totally agree with you.
Okay, based on our findings in the report, I move that we recommend the Contractor State License Board order Action Power Inc. to take the board's education course and pay a financial penalty in the amount of $8,000.
I'll second that.
Secretary, please call the roll.
Clausen,
Yes.
Johns,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Munoz,
Yes.
Simonian.
Yes.
Motion is adopted. Item 21. Next item before us is an action item on the decision on the NOPV for dynamic general construction. Investigation 23 NTS 0016. Dynamic general construction has responded to the NOPV with a written response. This jurisdiction is contractor state license board. I'll now turn to members of the board. We will deliberate each violation separately and decide whether this violation occurred before moving to the next. If we determine that the respondent committed at least one violation, we will then determine the sanctions appropriate. Violation number 1, Government Code 4216.2B, excavating without first notifying Regional Notification Center.
This one's all over the place, right? So they admit to excavating without first notifying the regional, call center. But then later on, they wanted, in this letter, they wanted to, understand what it is. I'm not really sure that there's really an understanding truly of what's happening in the situation. But there is no evidence to support they tried to get a ticket, and by their own admission, they did not. I think for the first one, they excavated without first notifying the regional call.
I agree.
So with that, if there's any other discussion on that, I'll just go ahead and make a motion that, I move that we find dynamic general construction violated the government code by excavating without first notifying the regional notification center, which is 4216.2B.
I'll second that.
Austin,
Yes.
Johns,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Munoz,
Yes.
Simonian,
Yes.
Motion is adopted. Violation 2. Staff has withdrawn violation number 2. So we move on to violation number 3. California Code of Regulations, Title 19, Section 4100C, failure to notify the Regional Notification Center of excavation damage to a natural gas facility within 2 hours of the damage. Would you like to start this deliberation?
Member Simonian. So they admitted to not calling the regional notification center, but on the response, they stated that immediately after damage, they were occupied assisting the gas crew to locate the shutoff valve, and that's the reasoning behind not calling. So by their self-admission, they did not call.
I agree with Member Simonian. I don't think there's a question on the fact that they did not call. When we give a reason why, but they didn't call and it takes a minute. It should have happened, so everybody can be properly.
So with that, I move that we find dynamic general construction violated Title 19, Section 4100A of the California Code of Regulations by failing to notify the Regional Notification Center of excavation damage to a natural gas facility within 2 hours of that.
Member Boston seconds.
Okay.
Austin,
Yes.
Johns,
Yes.
Johnson,
I'm sorry, I'm confused. It's a violation, we're looking.
We are voting on
Not
this.
calling.
Yeah, this is violation 3. Violation 2 was removed, so this is not calling. Failure to notify the Regional Notification Center of damage to a gas line within 2 hours of the damage.
Yes.
Yes.
Munoz,
Yes.
Simonian,
Yes.
Motion is adopted. Okay. Staff proposes sanctions of mandatory completion of the board's education course. Financial penalties amount to be determined by the board. Corrective action to be determined by the board. For those of you who find that violation did occur, please state what you think is the appropriate sanction. Doing so, please list the provisions of section 4201 of Title 19 of the California Code of Regulations that you're using as the basis for your determination and what facts you relied upon. Do you have a handle on what transpired? I mean, they dug without a ticket, and so notification of a 2-inch gas line, and they didn't notify regional 1 call within 2 hours. But did they notified the regional gas company and they came to make the repair, or am I missing something here?
Yeah, they called, the gas company made out their statement said that they were occupied with helping the gas company, that's what they were feeling.
Here's how I'm reading it. I'm reading it like they don't have a plan if something goes wrong. They don't have a plan. They're missing a lot of steps to be operating with around a high pressure line all the time. There's some things that hitting the gas line by my employees admitted, I would feel terrible. Okay, that's fine. That's good that they admitted it. Then they did something weird, but we had the presence of mind to immediately call the facility manager and sheriff booth, and they took over all the response operations and immediately called 911. But it doesn't seem like they have a real good handle on what should happen one way or the other. So that's why I'm saying it's all over the place, because then the gas company comes and instead of doing their job with, what their state contractor license requires them to do, which is to call the regional notification center to take that step, they start going and looking for the isolated valve. So it's like they're kind of like all over the place. So I would highly encourage the education. That is one thing that they really need. They need a plan, an action plan, should something occur. Nobody wants that, but we've learned that they do happen. And then they go through like all these things that they, they feel really bad, they feel really terrible, and you can read that. But I hope that translates into action. Like, this is what we do if this occurs. This is the person in charge of this. And he says I'm a mom and pop company, but still, these are very, very serious actions, repercussions when they take these actions without a ticket, or maybe they don't take a ticket, do work without a ticket again, but even so, there's lines everywhere. And he says that he didn't find it. He had worked there so many times and never hit something before. So there's just a lot of like uncertainty. They worry me, their approach. It doesn't seem like they have a good handle on how to manage the project outside.
My biggest concern is he's used a backhoe and he's out excavating and doesn't know the basic laws. I mean, I know the law says if hand shovel and things like that is required notifying, but a backhoe, I just don't see any way you can do that without major risk to the public and everybody. So where I'm coming from with the equipment.
Yeah.
And then after the fact, making sure it's notification and stuff. That's important. But I think that's education going to take care of that.
I'm at a loss for the sanction. You guys, I mean, I would start with the 5,000 seems like it's in line with what.
I'm thinking 5,000 is, if you're taking a piece of equipment out there, you don't call them K11. That seems like a minimum to me.
Member Simonian. So based on our findings, I move that we recommend the contractor state license board or dynamic general construction to take the board's education course and pay a financial penalty of $5,000.
I'll second.
Okay.
Lawson,
Yes.
Johns,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Munoz,
Yes.
Simonian,
Yes.
That is the end of the report. So let's definitely take a quick break and, well, go back to our agenda. We got a wellness center. Pardon? We have 8 wellness centers and, if we got back in 10 minutes, would we be able to finish by 5 o'clock? I see one head, okay. We got a 10-minute break. So we're in recess. Oh,
My luggage, I'm like. I don't know. Somewhere.
Okay, we're back in session and, Dave here. Question, the staff on this, this was a break time starting tomorrow. I don't have to go through the roll call or anything right now. We're just proceeding on, so. Item 22, 811 notification center update. The next item before us is, before the board is an information item on updates from the regional notification centers, Dig Alert and USA North 811. Ms. Diamond, Mr. Wingate, who would like to begin? Oh, you've answered my question. Take it away, Ms. Diamond.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Got my paper in front of me. Yeah. Can we move to the first overall slide? Yes, it would be 29. Yeah. There we go. USA North ticket volume is up 10.9% versus 2024 through June 30th. Their new tickets are up 6.1%, as are dig alerts. The speed of answer for USA North is a bit high because they are having some personnel issues. They have 6 agents out on leave. They've recently hired 2 new agents, and 1 starts at the end of July. Their average speed of answer year to date is 2 minutes and 3 seconds compared to 42 at the same time or 42 seconds at the same time in 2024. You'll notice that Dig Alert's ticket volume, I have something in parentheses. That's the total number of tickets. And also tickets created online are in parentheses. At the April meeting, we talked about the automatic no responses that we started on January 1st. Those are done automatically if someone has not provided an electronic positive response by the start date and time of that ticket, it will automatically generate. So those are counted as online tickets. When 5 o'clock rolls around, the system dumps all those responses into our ticket delivery system. It takes about an hour and a half to clear out all the queue, as the system has to check each ticket that's staying in queue to make sure it hasn't gotten a response in between the 5 o'clock where a 999 is hit, and then let's say at 6:30, that ticket's still in queue waiting to go out, but it has provided marked as a response. Those are just doing some highlights. USA notes that their average speed of answer only applies to about 10.5% of the tickets because they have about 89.5% that are done online. Without counting our automatic responses, the percentage that Dig Alert has that are done online is about 80%. As I mentioned, through the end of June, Dig Alert's new tickets are up over 6% over last year, but I'm not sure that will continue as a lot of the first half of the year was fire-related tickets. We will keep our fingers crossed that rebuilding will continue the trend. And now after all of the NOPVs, all but one of them were in Southern California. So hopefully we'll get more new tickets because people will be educated to do that. On, can you advance, please? I don't know what number it is. Keep going.
Which one it is?
Page 21 of the original.
The title?
I don't remember. It has to do with, the EPR responses on, that are on time versus no response.
This one?
Nope, keep going. The table. There we go, that's it. If you will note, via COPA, I fat fingered the no response by required time code 999s. We did not have 270,000. It was 27,020 for May. And that's pretty much the highlights. Everything seems to be the same every quarter of the information. Yeah, it were updates. Yep. We held a webinar, as it says, for our members that were receiving excessive amounts of auto no responses. While the numbers are still high, they are starting to come down a bit this month. So I'm hoping that maybe the webinar with members is helping. Our USA events are sponsored by oil operators and SoCalGas. We had our first in-person one since 2020 in June. It was well attended, but those are very expensive. And prices have not gone down since 2020. Also, we were talking about Stanislaus County Fair earlier, and in the back, and Southern California Edison handed out Diggler's swag at the LA County Fair in May. I have always said that our members are our biggest, I don't want to call them supporters, but our best way to get that information out there. They are so much larger than the notification centers. They are able to get that message out. So we provide them with information to pass out at things like the LA County Fair. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. James Wingate, USA North 811. I just have some M&E or marketing and education stuff to go over with you for now, where I don't have anything especially noteworthy that's happening at our center, other than the staffing challenges that I mentioned. But kind of go in spurts, you know, sometimes all's well, and then when you lose 6 people, when you only have 20 something, that makes a huge difference. And well, we didn't lose them, they're on leave for one way or another. So this makes for challenges that way. But I've got some photos in here of some events that we've done recently. We do what we call them our safe presentations, safety awareness for excavators. We have a few pictures of this. This one's my new favorite photo. We have a Teams channel, and I put this out to the whole company and said, this one's my favorite because if you look closely, there's only one guy who's not paying attention. Everyone else, there's one guy who's looking at his phone, and he's in the top right corner, that knucklehead, but everybody else is paying attention. So that's my favorite one. But we also have, I think I mentioned this to you before, but we added a person into our marketing and education team who speaks Spanish, and so she gives presentations in Spanish. Her name is Dulce, and she's fantastic. And this is a picture of her doing one of those in Bakersfield, and then she also did one in Fresno the following day. We also, as Ms. Diamond mentioned, sometimes PHMSA, the Pipeline and Hazardous Materials Safety Administration, requires the pipeline operators to do more education than regular utility operators. They have to do presentations for first responders to coordinate if there's to have a hazardous pipeline leak and how they're gonna respond, things like that, coordinate with the fire departments. And they often outsource that to a company called Paradigm. They're nationwide, and they go up and down California. They've asked us when they come to the north to partner with us, and so we do kind of a joint presentation with them. So this is, there are a handful of those that we did, Lodi, Fairfield, Coalinga, Bakersfield, so some pictures there. This year is our 50-year anniversary. Can you believe it? 1975 is when USA North was founded. And so to commemorate that, we weren't quite sure how to do that because we recognize we're funded by utility operators and therefore ultimately utility ratepayers. But 50 years is a big deal. So we tried to strike the balance of doing something, but not over the top or being frivolous. And so we had a golf tournament and had sponsors donate stuff to give away. And then we had an open house and it was good. So that's a picture of the people coming to the golf tournament. Thank you, Fair. We missed the Stanislaus, but we did get Dublin. That was a good one. So we often do some of the larger county ones. We have a partnership. We've been working on our Latino targeted outreach. And so we have a partnership with the San Jose Earthquakes soccer team. And this one, we do a booth with them frequently, but I try not to burn out my team because they usually play on Saturday night. And if they have to spend every Saturday night working the game, that they get burned out. So, but this one, that we have a picture here, it's actually on the next slide, but they had one game at Stanford Stadium, which is significantly larger than, that's where Stanford plays football. And it's much larger than where the Quakes normally play at PayPal Field in San Jose. So this one had 42,000 attendance, and so that was good exposure at that one. We've also been doing some advertising in a different way. We were trying some stuff with BART, the Bay Area Rapid Transit Light Rail Trains. So we've got some signage at train stations. We're trying something different. We've done billboards, but people who ride the trains maybe don't see the billboards. And so we're branching out to do that as well. So this is something new that you'll see at BART stations in the Bay Area if you're a BART rider. And then just the last few slides, as usual, I have just a list of events for your reference that we try to, this is our internal tracking of what we listed, direct presentation. That means they asked us to come do it and we sent someone to do that there in person. One or multiple people, depending on how big the group was. I think I've told you before, but the balance is, if someone says, hey, can you come present to my group at 6 a.m. before we hit the field, we want to accommodate that, we can. But if it's in Bakersfield and they're only going to have 3 people, then we have to question if it's a good use of resources. So finding that balance, it's all over the place, and you'll see some of those groups are big and some of them not so big. So, but that's what we've been up to. Do you have any questions for me? And then I can, while I'm here, and then you can get Ann back up if you need to. Any questions for me?
I think we're gonna go into in-person comments.
Oh, yeah.
In-person comments.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Wingate. So we will start with in-person comments. If you would like to make a comment, please approach the podium. Please provide your name and organization before you comment. I can see if anybody on the webinar is interested. Okay. So seeing no in-person comments or webinar comments, we'll proceed. So we're going to the board. Anybody?
I think, Ms. Diamond kind of identified something that I was thinking about. It seems, there are a lot of there were a lot of NOPVs from the south today. There seems to be a lot of training and engagement in the north. There was a mention of like cost. How can we leverage what the north is doing for training and outreach? How can we leverage that for the south? And I do say that as someone who lives in the south and sees all the construction that's happening out there, and just noticing the trends that we keep saying, I didn't know, and there's a lot of gaps. So I'm interested to hear like what is on the docket, what can change from an outreach or an educational perspective.
I'm not sure, other than money. It's very expensive to do advertising in Southern California. That's one reason why we rely on our members, the operators, to get that word out. We do in-person presentations as well. But we have one person to do that. Again, it has to do with money. We would be more than happy to provide information to the CSLB for a newsletter. But a lot of these people with the CSLB that are licensed contractors, once they get their license, they don't have to take a test again or any information about the new any changes in the law. It's hard to reach that many people. I know that the California Regional Common Ground Alliance is looking at some ideas for education to kind of help out as far as getting the word out. But it's very hard to market education, because that's what this is, especially for those that don't necessarily dig all the time. It should be that they remember 811 and then, wait, I saw that. What am I supposed to do about 811? It has to do with resources, and Diggler just doesn't have the same resources that USA North does. USA North, things correct me, but you have 4 or 5 people that do presentations. So that's our biggest issue, is the resources.
So I guess a couple things, maybe based on what you just said, and then based on the NOPV trends that we're seeing, maybe something good would be like a partnership with a topic on ADUs. That would be something that maybe would be beneficial, because we're seeing that. So something to get ahead of it, maybe just even having your flyer available in city. So when people pull a permit for an ADU, they just have it there. So I don't know. I just, a lot of this is education. So I hear that there's one person, but maybe we have that, we have some online resources, or I know you guys do have the training online, or at least the information online. So I just seeing if we can find another way to get the information out there.
Quick questions? All right, thank you very much. This time I'm Mr. Wingate. Well, what does it say? Given the time, if no board members object, I suggest that we recess until tomorrow morning. If objections? Don't have to vote on it. Seeing no objection, the board will now recess and we'll resume back here tomorrow, 9 a.m. tomorrow morning. Thank you all.